Welcome, dearest listeners, to Queen of Daggers, Heart of Fire, our second ever episode, which finds our beautiful heroes in a predicament, to say the least. But before we get to them, let's check back in with our equally beautiful players. Carmela, please say hello.
Hello, everyone.
And Katie, please say hi.
Hi.
Ben, greetings.
Greetings.
And David.
Hey.
Good evening. Last time, our poets of Lacuna got a little bit mischievous when they were visiting the town of Coramel. No one told them they couldn't go explore the town. They weren't sneaking out. They probably should have stayed in bed, though, and they just so happened to go down the really only road there was to go down in this small town. And when village girl Winona pointed out to them, that's all she did was point to the entrance in the hill where Cormel's silver mines are found that poet Hawthorne had told them about, where some mysterious problem or point of interest, some nut even he couldn't crack, could be found. Lemma didn't hesitate. He forged right ahead, and no one else hesitated to follow. So in they went. And it was clever young Evelyn who read a rhyme with one word missing, but completed it without missing a beat. So smart she is. It was though the word was not missing at all. Glory, she said. And when she did, the cavern of bones, as they'll now forever know, it is called, shook with thunder as their bodies were racked with lightning. And the Queen of Bones, named Glory, was freed. She needed something from them. That feeling, that lust. Victory, defeat? They gave her what she needed, though Ginny alone would not yield to the pleasure of it. And OrLeon alone did not have to be tested. The great Queen of Bones knew him somehow. And that's where we find them. The mysterious writing on the archway above. Will, fortune, glory now visible. With one more word still obscured by the caudal ward. That storied magic barrier that protects the realm of Lacuna, held there by the two queen they've been told their whole lives, are poetic for stay transfixed for a moment, panting, the thrill of that pain passing through them. Evelyn and Lemma are closest to this great stone effigy in this room their escort Winona hadn't known whether to call a shrine or a tomb, or perhaps a prison. Evelyn looks again at what remains of the statue. Evelyn, can you give me a knowledge roll? And you can now use both of your 2d12.
May I ask, does this deal with the history, culture, or politics of a prominent person or place?
This is your own memory. Could you remind me what your experiences are, actually?
My experiences are the art of conversation, and I can find that for you.
Yes, no bonuses.
Okay. That is a 16 with hope.
Take a hope token, first of all. And that is certainly a sufficient roll to remember what happened just yesterday. Something that made you gasp, something that made you feel like you were remembering something, even though you didn't know what. That work of art in that strange book Primer Cathonia showed you in the library. back at the Conjuries where you study. Oil painting at a crossroad. Shadowy, stormy, murky, somewhere outside of a town, the lantern not giving off enough light. At the time, you noticed the landscape, and it took you a while to focus on the figure. Now, of course, it is at the center of your mind, the sinewy body disappearing into shadow. But all you can think now is two. It had two heads, one hooded, covered, bowed, but the other, face to the sky, mouth open, which of course is what this sculpture. It's not exactly the same. It's not a person. It's not seeing the same person twice. You don't remember thinking joy, triumph when you saw that painting. And that's all you see, even with the sculpture cracked into, but it's cracked in two. Sword in each hand. Two swords stabbed through. And still, when you look at it, all you can see is a joy that terrifies. That's a word that's maybe never run through your mind before, terrify. But as the bargain you made, and it is a bargain, even if just for a moment, that emotion you gave to the queen in order to live, as that bargain passes through you, you look at the expression and you feel it, a joy through your entire body that only can come from knowing you are facing death and are thus alive. And as that passes through, you fall to your knees, and all four of you hear from behind you, in a confused, panicked voice, "Use your feet!" And you turn to see Winona. Those of you who turn. The young woman from the town. Curly hair. Sneaky but cheerful girl who found you all so interesting, some of you in different ways. She's picking herself up and looking at you wide-eyed. She's not a poet. It is unclear what she just experienced. She grabs OrLeon by the hand, pulls you past Ginny and out through the corridor where you came, as you all hear a rumbling.
I follow after them.
Evelyn looks up at Lemma with about 1,000 things to say, none of which can be articulated in this moment. She just looked completely overwhelmed.
What is Winona giving at the moment?
Without any sort of role, I would say in this moment, you get that she is sure of what to do, which is get out of here and run. But she is stumbling a bit. She seems very physically affected by whatever just happened. So anything more than that, you would need to roll.
Yeah, I'd like to ask her what she just experienced. What did she see? What happened? Winona, I don't know what just happened. Can you tell me?
She looks back at you as she pulls you, and her eyes again are wild, and they try to fix on you. It definitely, without a roll, it looks like there's something she wants to say to you, and it's not just that the moment is a moment of panic for her. It's also that she's discombobulated. There are things she wants to say, but now is not the time. Like she's got your hand, and she's sure of that, but otherwise she's moving on.
I don't want. So does she leave? I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave the rest of the group to follow her. Can I get her to?
Ginny's following you, or
yeah, I'm not letting someone take you without me following.
Do you guys think it's worth using clarity of nature to calm her down and get her back and get her perspective, or does it feel like we need to? Maybe we need to decide if we need to get out of here or not. Or
to be clear, the cavern is rumbling, and she's told you
the cavern is rumbling
to
still.
use your feet.
Okay. Guys, maybe we should go.
Yeah, Lemma, kind of wild-eyed, looks back at Evelyn and nods. And is Evelyn kneeling?
She's on her knee.
Yeah. Lemma, grabs her wrist and kind of yanks her upright and just, propels her towards the exit.
You know, that It's easy enough to do. She wasn't injured or anything.
She is staring back at the broken statue for every second that they are still in that cavern.
And as you feel the rumbling, the statue, despite its cleft down the shoulder, perfectly between the two swords, it's not crumbling. The damage has been done to that statue. You can feel the earth move under your feet, but the cavern will remain. You can feel an energy moving outwards, but there's something...
Like the earthquake happened, and these are aftershock.
No.
No.
You could make a roll if you wanted, but it depending on the roll you wanted to make, it might mean pausing and noticing things. You could figure it out, or you could run, basically.
Yeah.
All right, so are you all basically dashing out the way you came after per Winona?
Yeah.
When you came in this way, it was a fairly normal, not very wide, but not claustrophobic, person-made tunnel through the hill. Flecks of silver dust. It's near the silver mines, but not part of the silver mines. And as you go through now, Winona is in the lead, definitely clumsier than she was on her way in. Not that you know her that well. There is certainly an energy that was not there before. It is not the silver flecks, but the silver flecks catch it. Amongst you, the way your poetry most naturally works, who of you feel that it is particularly visual, like first and foremost, as opposed to verbal or... Actually, I'd like to go around, actually, and ask you, like, what is the most natural way you first feel your poetry and the Caudal Ward? Whether it's visual or verbal or some other way.
Evelyn is verbal, for sure. And that is where she is most comfortable in it, so it is where she is focused. But there is another part of Evelyn's power that is more akin to, like, what Ginny was describing last week, this sort of warm glow from within that terrifies her. But there is a very academic expression of power for Evelyn, and there is also this sort of feeling of out of control. I don't know what that is, but it's inside me power. But she's far more comfortable with the verbal, thematic, I'm creating a spell now, and it is like doing math formula.
Right, but she has the splendor, the magic of life that is also, it's not how she leads, but it's part of her poetry.
Yeah.
I think for OrLeon, it's neither exactly, it's definitely not verbal. He doesn't have a verbal connection with Cosmene or there's no articulable sound, but I don't think it's exactly visual either. I don't see things appearing in walls or in three-dimensional space. I think it is sort of a sensation without sense. I sense presences. I feel the presence of will, of consciousness, of chaos, and I feel connected to all of that presence and all of those presences, so I feel not alone. I feel somehow in connection, in community. I think it is a feeling that is both sort of deeply sensually pleasurable and also frightening in its propulsion.
What about Lemma?
I think Lemma is sort of on the surface, sort of visual, in the way that he has never defined his poetry before his kind of recent life. He sort of perceived things beyond what was obvious and possibilities as sort of kind of flickering shapes like smoke. But on closer examination, those shapes and images are composed of words. They're the story of the universe being written and rewritten.
And Ginny has somewhat resisted parts of her poetry. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. Ginny has resisted some parts of that poetry. She mostly experiences it through her body. It's very tactile to her. So that's that warm feeling that I was talking about before. She experiences it through her movement and in her actions. She tries to keep her hands busy for several reasons, but the parts of her that she resisted is that warmness, that kind of that splendor, magic of life kind of deal. And if her hands are doing something else, then she won't be using that splendor part of her. So if you see her wring her hands, that's probably why.
As you run, walk, stumble, OrLeon and Winona are in front. So OrLeon, you would likely be the first to realize of the four of you that the exit is further away than it should be. This corridor is longer than it was. There had been a curve when you came in where light had been a question. You've curved more than once. This path makes no sense, and it starts to pulse, convulse. There was an energy Evelyn had wondered about, and I will say wisely, not paused to figure out, and now it is asserting itself. I'm just going to pause for a second to look at Ginny's sheet. Oh, interesting. I forgot about your Orderborn.
My dedications.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that includes be a shield for those weaker than you, and for the good of the many. How many hope do you have?
2.
I'm trying to decide if I'm going to make you roll to remember something.
Okay.
And I think that I am not, because the situation is so specific in a way that I had not planned.
Okay.
And I think it's very perfect.
Uh-oh.
No, you like it.
Okay. I'm sure
it's good for you. I'm remembering the highly specific exchange you and Winona had about prying things from the walls.
Mm-hmm.
She had made an offhand comment about you all being out and acting sneaky and prying the silver from the cave walls,
Mm-hmm.
and you saying that you were strong enough to do just that.
Yeah.
And her being a little bit confused about
Mhm.
whether that was flirting.
We were all confused by it.
But the walls pulse at you right now with the flecks of silver, not stones. And as they constrict, you realize that you could do something like that right now. You could try to pry this power, something in the earth that's connecting these flecks of silver. You could maybe use your strength to protect your friends.
Okay. So this tunnel, because now I'm thinking that we're inside Ginny's mind. She's like, are we going the wrong way? This was not the way we came through. So is the tunnel getting narrower, is what you're saying?
And there's been no opportunity to go the wrong way.
Okay.
It was one path that was carved directly here, and it's just snaking. This is clearly fuckery.
Gotcha. Okay.
Supernatural fuckery.
Yeah. The order is Winona, OrLeon, me, and then Lemma and Evelyn are behind me.
Yes.
I can feel that the tunnel's getting narrow. I know Lemma and Evelyn are behind me. I don't want them to get trapped. I guess I try
And with your various fawn
Mhm.
physical bonuses,
Yeah.
like you could combine like with leap and kick and I would let you get in front if you needed to.
I think I would, like, if I can, try and leap in front of Winona to try and hold the path open and let them continue to run past me. I just don't want it to close any more than it is before they can get to where we're trying to go. Or am I trying to, like, I have a very strange visual in my head of being in
Please,
front
share.
and sticking my hands into the walls and try and carve the path wider with me in the front.
It is a strange visual, but that's exactly what pops into your mind because that's what you and Winona said.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about what happened with you in that cavern, about your refusal to yield to whatever that was,
Mm-hmm.
and your survival that makes you feel right now that you could exert your will on this.
Okay. If we want to use one of my Orderborn dedications, I would roll with a d20 as my hope. And I only have the one dice at the moment, the one die. So I'm just going to roll with a d20 instead. I guess it was just a straight strength roll with this d20.
Is strength your spellcast trait? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, unless there's something else you want to argue for.
No, again, crazy visual in my brain of me just sticking my hands to the walls and running.
All right,
here we go. 14 on the die plus 2 is 16.
The DC was 15.
Cool, I did it.
You dig, unless you would like to describe it, actually. I would love you to.
Sure. So Ginny gets in front of Winona, which I guess in all the craziness, Winona just lets me. Ginny sticks, again, crazy thought in her head, sticks her hands into the walls. And she could feel the earth give underneath, the earth and stone give underneath her hands. And she's able to get a grasp and push out in front of her, and is able, almost like she's carving out the stone with her hands, and is able to push and make the path wide enough for them to all get out as it's trying to collapse in on them.
Winona almost seems to melt away, but she's very shifty in that way. You have no trouble getting in front of her and OrLeon, and the silver flecks in the walls bristle. You can feel them. Everyone can feel the walls flex like a muscle, tense. And then the corridor loosens, opens again. OrLeon, I think you feel from the walls themselves sense of confusion or indecision from the earth in the face of what Ginny has done. And suddenly you all spill outside. It is night, but where it had been a simple balmy night with the clear moon, there is now red in the sky. You hear screams from the town square and very strange howls.
I have a thought of something I'd like to do, but I don't know if it feels like, well, now that we're outside of the cave, do we feel like we are out of immediate danger to some extent?
Yes, you personally, you don't feel like anything's about to attack you or collapse on you. You also know this is not where you entered. You've been dumped out on some other part of the hillside. You know how to get to the town square, but it is just notably not where it had been.
I would like to. I have one item that I have.
Ooh, items.
As a druid is a bag of bones and rocks. It is a small bag of rocks and bones. It's in my equipment. It's the last item in my equipment. And I think what I would like to do is roll the small bags of rocks and bones onto the ground. I'd like to arrange them into the best of my memory, the sort of floor plan of the hall where the Queen of Bones' statue was. And I would like to use Death Connection with the bones to see whether... I don't know if this will work, since normally one has to do that with a corpse and you get a memory from the corpse, but I'm just trying to see in what way I can use these objects to kind of augur information from either the stones, the earth, that is clearly feeling its confusion, or from the bones and whatever kind of connection they might have. So I don't know. Maybe it's Death Connection, maybe it's some version of Fungal Network, but that's what I'm trying to do.
As soon as you roll out the bones onto the ground, you feel a thrill that is not like the thrill you all felt in the cavern, just in that it feels like a relief, like cold water. Gain a hope. If you would like to know more, that would be some kind of roll.
Yeah, I would like to know more, for sure. I was thinking either of those two things, either using Death Connection or Fungal Network.
Death connection is you need to touch a corpse that died recently.
Okay, so that's not gonna work.
you can't talk to those specific bones. A fungal connection is very interesting. I will read aloud the text of the feature.
Right. This is where it's the last word
Yeah.
of it is very confusing as it relates
All
to
of
this
it's-
character.
Oh well, that's not the part I'm worried about because we've reflavored that.
Okay.
But a couple of our characters, darling listeners, have custom ancestries. We cobbled some things together as the rules permit. OrLeon might be a fun girl, but is not a fun grill. Fungal network is you make an instinct roll to speak with others of your ancestry across any distance using your mycelial array. Mycelial being a mushroom thing. That's kind of not what we're worried about. Who is OrLeon's ancestry? I have kind of an answer. Well, first of all, make an instinct roll. Maybe you'll fail and it won't matter.
Okay, that's 2d12s, right?
Yes. And you're trying to hit a 12.
Okay, so it's a fear roll, and the total is 11. But then that's plus 2 for instinct, right? So that's 13.
You feel... Oh, first let me ask, have you ever attempted this before?
No, I've this bag of bones and rocks I found when I was burying the family cat, out back in the woods by the, I was working in the undertaking business, and so nobody else was going to take care of this friend of mine who wanted to return back to the Great Universal. So I did. I found these rocks and bones in a particular formation, in a shape on the forest floor. It was sort of like a glyph or a rune, but I couldn't tell what it was. I mean, I remember that it was in a shape. I don't remember what the shape was, but so anyway, I took them and I put them in this little bag and I've carried them around with me. And I've never, in the past, I have kind of taken them out and put them in different shapes just to kind of play with them and see what they do. And sometimes I feel a little bit of energy coming from them, but I've never tried to use the fungal network through an arrangement of these objects. I've just been sort of playing with them.
So, this is the first time you've ever played with them with an intent, or, when you sense that now is the moment, that something has been unlocked, you roll them, you feel this frisson, cast them out, and you sense that this thing you hadn't been able to articulate you were attempting has worked. And you know that you can, in your mind, you don't have to say it out loud, can communicate something to someone who's like you, no matter how far away they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do you think that is, and what do you communicate?
I think I want to address the consciousness whose confusion we are sensing in the earth of the walls. That I am sensing in the earth of the walls. You said I sensed that the walls are confused. I want to try to address who or what is feeling that confusion.
Yeah, that will work.
Okay.
There's no textual limitation on, we'll see how it goes,
Okay.
on how much you can say.
Okay. I want to ask it first, what do you see?
Do I see ingrates blood? My realm, my resistance, impudence, rain, where's rain? Cosmene. Wait! You hear a whooshing sound. I'll tell you now that whooshing sound tells you have lost this being's
The
attention.
connection, yeah.
It would be, you could roll again. A 12 is not that high. You could talk to them more. You might not get their attention again. It was a big question. They saw a lot.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to do with that information.
That is very fair. I'm gonna pan away from you for a minute as you experience that, and I think your fellows just saw you cast some twigs and bones from a bag and puzzled at them. Perhaps the most puzzled you've ever seen OrLeon. I think Winona is standing, looking around, again, disoriented. And what are the rest of you doing?
Where are we, Winona? Where are we?
Where?
We're not where we went into the cavern. Where are we right now? Can you tell?
You brought me. I don't know. There's things happening. And she looks at Ginny. What did you do?
Ginny looks down at her hands that are just covered in dirt and stones. And she's got flecks of metal underneath her fingernails. And she just looks up at Winona and asks, "Are you okay?"
I was going to ask you that. Am I okay?
Ginny steps closer to Winona and looks her over and makes sure that she doesn't have any cuts or bruises or broken bones or anything like that. So, she wants to know, is Winona fully intact? Is she just a little shaken? Because that was weird.
And she puts her hands on herself, and her hands out as though to check her balance. And she says, "Everything's that way. And there's a shrine." And she points towards the town center. And she takes one more step and stumbles, and then sprints.
Okay. I was going to go and catch her, but she escapes my grasp. I look back down at my hands, and I squeeze them into fists, and I face the others and go, "What in the Twin Queen's name just happened?"
I don't know, Ginny, but I'm concerned that it's still happening. And she sort of gestures vaguely towards the sounds of what's coming from town and the yelling and the red moon. And I don't think our night is over.
As you say that, you hear two more wolves, but different. And then you all hear, and you're not sure if it's out loud or in your mind, the howl of a woman. A woman who hunts with wolves.
Okay, I think OrLeon turns to the group, still lost in distraction, fighting for words, fighting for clarity, but he says, "Yes, Evelyn's right. It is still happening, but it's happening. I think it's happening on the other side of the ward. That's what I heard when I cast the bones. So it's happening on the other side of the ward."
How is that possible? Where is the ward? Where is the other side? What does that mean?
I don't know more than what I said, but I think I know that what I said is true. As much as I know anything is true, which is not much. Should we get the poet?
Here's what Lemma has experienced in the past 20 seconds. We were in a cavern. Something spooky was happening in the cavern. We left at speed. We're now outside of the cavern. The sky is red. There are howls and screams coming from town. OrLeon poured some bones and stones on the ground and looked confused. And the only thing that surprises Lemma is that OrLeon wasn't confused before. This is such a stack of thing after thing after thing, and all of it is unknown. And on top of it is the trauma of basically Lemma precipitated this by messing with something that he was denying.
Ooh, tell me slightly more. Which part was the mistake that Lemma made?
Lemma let down his guard. Lemma, I think, wasn't fully aware that that sense of pull or intuition that he experiences sometimes was part. He genuinely didn't realize it was just a feature of who he was. And then there was an event that was very different from that. But this feeling, this awareness, he, I think, had been separating from what poets were supposed to be. And in this moment, he entertained that, and it resulted in something undeniable.
Are you saying you can't deny that he
He's
has poetry?
If he were left alone with his thoughts for another 20 seconds, he would have a really hard time continuing to compartmentalize that.
Well, that sounds bad. That sounds like something to run away from.
Yeah. So Lemma kind of just turns to the group, eyes wide. He's like pale and covered in dirt and silver dust. So he's just like, on top of his gray clothing, he's like entirely gray. and he just stares to the group and stage whispers, "No time," pulls out his rapier and his dagger and sprints off towards town.
Yes, agreed. Evelyn is clutching her great staff and running after him.
Well, I heard wolves. Ginny's ears were immediately perked up at the wolf howls and looks back at OrLeon, says, "We've got to go."
I pack up my bones and my rocks, and with Ginny, head on foot as quickly as possible, following the silhouettes of Lemma, Evelyn.
You can see Evelyn is silhouetted by light that she has sort of cast over herself to be able to see, like torchlight.
Who is waiting for whom? Are we going? Is Ginny waiting for OrLeon to gather the bones and such? Or are we just going? It might, at some juncture, make a difference this matter of seconds. Shouldn't have told you that part.
Ginny would have started it, but not gone full tilt until she knew OrLeon was right behind her.
Lemma is obviously gone.
Lemma's out of here.
Lemma's a cloud of silver dust. And I think Evelyn seemed to be
Right behind.
my running order. All right. So you get up the path. You get towards where that sort of all-purpose town hall is. And there start to be multiple paths. When we came here, I told you there was only one main path, only one interesting path, but there were also smaller paths, towards just where other houses were, residential areas that weren't really worth you all investigating. This is where things start to feel different. Your poetry starts to react differently, as especially the three of you who have your duality dice. There is an emotion you feel acutely that you have never felt that palpably before, and it is interacting with your peripheral vision. You remember what Primer Mantua tells you about how poets see the world, experience the world, that normal people can't. The caudal ward gives you tunnel vision for all your senses, for all your experiences. And a poet is able to turn your head and look in a way that normal people simply can't. And now it's like you have another sense. How you feel about that, find out. And I would like everyone to roll a d4.
I got a 3.
I got a 1.
94.
3.
Evelyn and OrLeon got 3.
Yes.
This is just the sort of the directions that you're drawn in. Who got 1?
I got a 1.
So, Ginny, your attention's immediately drawn to the town square. This is where you can hear, and this is probably where all of you heard the commotion most. OrLeon and Evelyn, your attention is drawn to the left. Lemma is drawn sort of on a diagonal path, actually towards where Poet Hawthorne's house was, which is, near, like towards, but not quite, but not directly towards the town square. So you all know that there's something extraordinary happening everywhere, but that's what's catching your attention first. You've all caught up with each other. You have a moment to split up, stay together, do nothing.
It's clear that people are sort of drawn in different directions. Their focus is pulled. Yeah.
Because you all know that there's stuff happening kind of around. The main hubbub is straight in the town square, but 3 of you also, your attention is caught in other directions.
So Evelyn is looking off to the left where her connection to whatever is drawing her eye, but she turns to the rest of them and says, I don't think we should split up. I think we should decide where we're going and go together.
Ginny is still running full tilt towards the square.
And I highly recommend we run after Ginny to that end.
Yes. I agree.
Ginny is also yelling for Master Soren and Master Hawthorne at the top of her lungs. She's very loud when she wants to be. I don't immediately clock that Lemma turns in that direction, but I'm still running full speed at the square.
Should two of us go to get Poet Hawthorne, and two of us go to the square, or?
Lemma is sprinting full tilt in whatever direction Lemma is sprinting. So
So then I think,
So it's just the two
Evelyn,
of us.
I think you and we got to decide. I think we should split
Or
up.
one of us goes after Ginny and the other goes after
Yeah.
Lemma.
Well, which direction is Lemma sprinting?
Lemma is ahead of the group, and Lemma is just like sprinting towards the thing that seems like it needs to get done. So if what Lemma perceived was, oh, there's a problem at Hawthorne's house, and that was the last thing to enter Lemma's brain, that's where he goes.
Evelyn will look at OrLeon, nod, and go after Lemma.
Okay, and then OrLeon will go after Ginny.
So 2 and 2.
2 and 2. We've split the party. Congratulations. We're all going to die.
I know they say never split the party, but we're genre dumb.
We haven't learned that yet. This is it.
I'm going to call you parties odds and even. Odds being the town square party. So we're going evens first. Veering off. Lemma and Evelyn. That makes sense anyway. Lemma sprinted off in a cloud of silver dust. It was quite striking, actually. and Evelyn followed. You headed up the path at first in Wynona's wake, but then you heard something off in a direction that was actually slightly familiar. You remember coming down that way from Poet Hawthorne's when you went to the inn. As you go up towards that tidy row of houses where the more prominent professionals have their cottages, see a hulking figure in the road.
Evelyn releases the prestidigitation so that she's not a moving target anymore.
I am making 3 out of the 4 heroes mark a stress from what happened at the end of the last session, which I wound things up before we got to that mechanical effect. But Ginny's resistance to the siren's call of glory means she isn't stressed. And she will also gain an experience that I haven't thought of a name for yet.
Oh.
That will help her resist similar things in the future.
I'm stressed in different ways.
So if glory tries to do that to you again, it'll be harder.
I have a quick question. My question is kind of for the group. And my question is, as you heard Lemma like huskily whisper, "No time," and then sprint off into the distance, did you find that inspiring?
Evelyn surely did.
Do you mean sexy? Because yes.
Would you say that it rallied you?
I would say it definitely would have rallied Ginny, because I don't think Ginny's ever seen Lemma move that fast. And I'm used to Lemma like looking at books and being quiet, and that was very interesting.
So if you feel that it filled you with a sense of purpose and drive,
Yeah.
you should take yourself a rally die.
Oh. And what does a rally die look like?
A rally die is a D6, and I'll read the rule for the listeners at home.
And I will allow it because it was hot.
Rally. Once per session, as your party prepares to enter a dangerous or difficult situation, describe how you rally them and give yourself and each of your allies a D6 rally die. Anyone with a rally die can spend it to roll it, adding the result to an action roll, reaction roll, or damage roll, or clearing stress equal to the rally die result.
Okay. Very cool.
Thanks, man.
You bet. No problem.
Reminder that it goes away at the end of the session, not at the end of the day. So use it this session. Use it or lose it.
Got it.
It's a cinematic moment, so use it to rock. A hulking figure. You had heard the howls of wolves that were strange, not quite wolves. And as you round here, you realize that what you are facing is not what was making this sound. The figure before you at first is Shadow. You know it's not Shadow the way Mantua deals with Shadow. You know this is of the Caudal Ward, but that is moving. This is Lemma and Evelyn. You were not there to see the beast in the woods that OrLeon and Ginny saw, but it reminds you irresistibly of that woodcut in Cathania's book. That wasn't a woodcut at all, for the blackness was words that you couldn't see, that you couldn't even read the letters of to know what the language was. The creature before you isn't words, but the substance of it does not want to be seen. You know immediately that if you were not poets, you simply would not see this creature. You know that this is a creature that should be exiled behind the caudal ward. This is beyond what poets are supposed to fight. This should not be here. The things you see, you push back the caudal ward and then are visible to all. This is different. The caudal ward has been drawn or cracked, and this creature is of it or from it. You don't know. You haven't been taught enough about what's behind there. How could you have been? But the blind spot of it is in motion. The shape, as I said, is hulking. In that negative space of it, you see wings, and you feel the wolfishness. You could interact with your poetry to see, smell, know more of it, or you could just not and do something at the shape. I will tell you for free, this is not augury here with a message. Lemma, I'll throw it to you first, since you were so at the ready. Our fleet-footed Mercury.
I think Lemma really has only one option. He is running away from his awareness of his poetry, and he believes this is a threat, and he just lunges at it.
And I'll remind you that you can spend hope to do more than one thing. There's no initiative order here. I might do something mean. I've got some fear tokens I could spend.
And just to clarify, if we act, you act, right? If we take an action, you get a fear token that you can use to act against. Is that how it works?
So, a great question, because for those listening, and you'll probably be listening before the official published version comes out, we are going off the 1.5 beta test, but we are incorporating one or two parts of the updated rules, which is that we are not using the action tokens and action trackers. So basically, there is no distinction functionally between combat and non-combat anymore.
Lemma attacks this thing with sword. Lemma grew up. The elegists were taught to protect themselves on the road. He hasn't used his sword a lot, but he has a sort of it's like he went to fencing class from ages 5 through 18.
And while I know Lemma has resisted the poetness of it all his year at the Conjuries, has he been training with the combat primers? With Amber?
I think that is something that he's willingly done.
That's what I assumed, but just making sure. So yes, roll your rapier with no penalty.
That is a 3 hope, 11 fear plus 2, so 16 with fear.
That hits. And this is a rapier you hit with? Just for flavor?
Yeah, I imagine that Lemma kind of like does the old like swish stab with the rapier and the dagger.
Oh, so it's with both?
Yeah.
Then as the dagger sinks in, you get distinct feeling of feathers and fur, both. You feel the feathers of the wings, but it's a strange kind of fur into which the dagger sinks. All right, so please roll damage.
That is a 5 on the damage die, plus 2 with the rapier, and then an additional plus 2 because it's paired with the dagger, so 9.
You sink in, you get the sense of feathers, and the dagger sinks into strange fur. And I mentioned augury before, and the sound you get reminds you a bit of augury. You get a growl and a very rapture-like roar. You're in close because of the rapier, are you not?
Yeah, I charged right in.
So it is going to attack you back. What is your evasion?
My evasion is 10.
Which is what I'm trying to hit. And I rolled a 7 with a plus 2. You hear a clack next to your head that misses. That is the strange creature's turn. Evelyn, or either of you. But let's throw it to Evelyn.
Evelyn would definitely do what is second nature to her, which is to try to figure out what she can figure out. by looking at this thing, by observing the way it interacts with Lemma, if there's any advantage to be had here, if it's clearly hostile, so we don't have to worry about that so much. But like, if it's from beyond the ward, might it be immune to certain things or vulnerable to certain things? You know, like, so I think Evelyn is going to make a knowledge check to try to see what is what here.
Please do.
That is a 12 with hope. And I believe you maxed out hope at 6, right?
Yeah.
So Evelyn is maxed out with hope.
Do some of that.
Depending on the result of this roll, I might.
I'm sorry, could you tell me the total again?
12 with hope.
What are you...
It's basically like making a knowledge check, you know, like, and by that I mean a classic D&D knowledge check.
Yeah.
What kind of creature is this? Does it look vulnerable to anything? Is there anything I can tell from the way that it moves through the world that, you know, like, I have options to put it to sleep. I have options to hit it with missiles.
Under knowledge, there are a few sub-skills listed. It doesn't have to be one of those specific ones, but I need you to be a little more specific.
It's a little like analyze.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
She's trying to figure out what to do next, and quickly, because Lemma is engaged with it. But, you know, like, if she had gone first, she might try telepathy. Like, hey, are you friendly? What are you doing here? But now that she's seen what she's seen, now the analysis is more like, what is the best way to get this thing to not kill us? Is it by killing it? Is it by, you know, that's where it's going to inform what she does.
On a 12 analyzed, I think you would know everything you've heard is wolf. Like, what you know is wolf-like. There are a lot of, you know, things that you just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a wolf, but the things you recognize so far are wolf-ish. Wolf-type creatures are best in packs. And so far, this one seems... Yes. That's good so far.
Yep.
As long as you're not wrong. It seems like Lemma has done well so far. And it seems like Lemma has done well, but has committed to a dangerous range.
Yeah. I'm going to take another action. I'm going to spend 3 hope to cast an arcane barrage at it, which is basically magic missile. They don't miss. I do 3d6 damage. It's a sure thing.
How many? 3d6?
3. Spending
That's
3 hope.
Lovely.
You told me to. And I might spend that rally die too.
Always listen to your
She's
GM.
terrified. So like, this is really...
Yes, she is. Fear can be productive.
Oh, I rolled well. 664. So that's 16 points of arcane damage. I think I'll hang on to my rally die and not add to it.
You hear 2 different voices, as though from 2 different species, come from one throat. And Lemma, you feel the massive trunk you are lodged in by the dagger crumple. The chest of the thing is truly most of it. It's chest and wings. Could you tell me again, Evelyn, what the name of the spell is?
Arcane barrage. So it was basically like boom, 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 missiles.
And tell me how she does that. How does she, especially with everything that's happened?
She runs into close range, which is different from very close range.
Yes.
So she runs up sort of with Lemma between herself and the creature, and she holds up her staff, and it comes out in a kind of panic, but it's thematic, verbal components. The way you move your hands in order to make this thing happen. She's acting on practice. You know, like, she's so practiced at this from class that she's perfected it so that in this moment when she's being terrified, she can still do it. But it's sloppy as all get out, you know, like, it's really like, it's that staccato thing that the Lemma notices when she's upset. The words are coming out and her hands are jerky and thick, but 3 blasts of like vibrant purple energy fly out from her staff and her hands simultaneously and sink right in.
Lemma, it's very interesting what you hear, especially since you can't see what she's doing. I think it's a moment that you'll remember. You will hear the sound of the creature dying. And the sound of the arcane barrage is itself not new. You study with Evelyn. Primer Lapidus has taught this spell in front of you. This kind of magic is familiar. You're familiar with the sound of Evelyn sputtering, but there's something about what is motivating this poetry in this moment. The thing that made you realize your error and run to danger, the terror that is new to you all, that is exciting Evelyn's magic right now and makes it feel like fireworks, that is making Evelyn's sputtering feel like a beautiful spontaneity that she would never embrace on purpose. And you hear that whiz past your ear and into this creature you still cannot fully comprehend. Your senses can't. But in the moment this barrage hits, you see wings with feathers, you see beak, you see muzzle, you see fangs, you see all these different things at once. You don't know if you're seeing what this thing really is, but you're seeing the story that it is, the fear that it causes, that it wants to cause and almost can't because you can't see it. It would like you to see it so that it could terrify you. And there's a moment where this is all illuminated in Evelyn's burst of terrified magic. That happens all at once, and then it's done. There's this mass of obscured meat in the path.
As the life leaves this thing, I think Lemma has pelted into the square and tried to kill something for the first time in his life. He's used his weapons to protect himself, but just to run in with very little thought and just try to do violence is new. And then he's had the feeling of being inches from a freight train just over his shoulder, boom, boom, boom. And this creature slumps down around his wrist where his dagger is stuck into it. And the contact with the body, unintentionally with everything that's been thrust at him, he sort of finds himself flung back into that space behind him where possibility lives. And he inadvertently uses Death Connection.
Wow, tell me more.
So Death Connection is one of the features of Lemma's custom background, Alogist. While touching a corpse that died recently, in this case, this instant, you can mark a stress to extract one memory related to a specific emotion or sensation. So I'm marking a stress. And for Lemma, it's the feeling that he had as he ran into this area. And the feeling that I think he saw flickered in the creature, that it's not even anger or rage. It's just this purpose without thought. And he's looking for some kind of just pulse thumping, what drove this creature the way that he was driven to this place.
I wish the audience would be able to see how I cartoonishly sat up in my seat when Jay-Ben said that. Lemma is finding in himself his vivid emotion of how he felt coming into this dangerous area and looking for how did this creature feel coming into this hostile situation.
I think Lemma, the only change I'd make is that Lemma is not looking for that. Lemma is accessing that without, that's just the thing that
thank you.
occurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
First, I have to ask, do you think Lemma experiences, what do you think the extraction is like? Lemma experiences it or sees it? I'm going to let you kind of choose.
I think it's sort of when you try to look into your peripheral vision, the way that your awareness of what's in front of you sort of disappears. I think his experience is that his awareness of the world around him sort of winks out, and he just has this sense of something else happening, sort of in the space behind him. And that is more vivid than the real world for a couple of seconds.
And Lemma reached this spot first, correct?
Yeah.
Lemma sees himself, but not as an external human person. Lemma sees something he understands to be himself, perhaps a shadow or a glimmer representation of himself appearing in this path, and feels the unfolding of wings and the sensation of, now finally, as the creature Lemma and Evelyn was killed, comes into being upon seeing Lemma. There is a confusing sense in this memory of having always been here, but being born in the same moment as a reflection of Lemma, or the Lemma that Lemma is now seeing. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. I think this feels identifiable to Lemma. Not that he's encountered this before.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. So Lemma perceives this, and Lemma, who's sort of like brief, kind of like all muscles tensed, head tilted back, like slumps and falls down and scrambles away from the creature.
Evelyn would move towards them in concern.
And I will say that as Evelyn moves towards you, Lemma, you get a glimmer of recognizing Evelyn was in the peripheral vision of this creature as well, that there was some delayed effect, a second glimmer shadow that creature experienced.
So the crystallization of possibility that occurred when I arrived, there was like a second quake, or like another shock.
Second is almost, she was very close behind you, so
right,
more of a background.
I think Lemma processing that, but Lemma's also hyperventilating on the ground.
Take a stress, please.
In addition to the stress I already took for using the ability?
Oh, probably yes.
I think that's totally legitimate, just checking.
Maybe not.
I'd be happy to say that this is like above and beyond the normal stress for...
I don't know. I think that was you tell me if that was a particularly stressful
this was
death connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think apart from anything else, Lemma...
It honestly seemed to me at first like Lemma was not stressed out by it, and it kind of checked out to him, but...
No, so I think that this... To clarify what I meant by that.
No, I mean, you understood what I was saying, but...
Yes.
And that's different. Yeah. But I'm just saying I'm not... With Lemma in particular, I'm not going to impose that on you. I trust you to decide.
Yeah. Yes, I think the fact that Lemma recognized this is part of what makes it traumatic.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So Lemma...
Take two
what,
stress.
Liz? I don't care what you say. I'm taking another stress. Sorry.
Found you, PCs!
Yeah, and now I'm on the ground reading very fast.
As Evelyn rushes to Lemma's side, Ginny and OrLeon rush into the town square, where the heat of some sort of trouble has been raging. Winona is ahead of them. You see her heels disappear into there's not even that many people in Coramel, but things have been so confusing, and the way you even see, it's disorienting once you step into the most open and most crowded part of the small town. And what you see and hear, it's familiar to the both of you because of what you saw on the edge of the Larksong Wood with Mantua. These beasts, these caudal wolves wearing the shadow of another wolf. Who gets there first?
I think I do. I think I'm faster than OrLeon.
I think that's probably right.
And the beast would be the thing that had your focus.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't have to ask who are what you saw first. The very first thing you would see is there's more than one here. You know that there are confused townspeople crying out, but you see Soren with a weapon drawn on the ground, not on his back, but up on an elbow, trying to defend himself. And the thing you notice most is the terror on his face and how confused he is by that feeling.
Ginny would shout Master Soren's name and run, shield up, and ram the beast that is standing over him.
And before we resolve that, OrLeon, what do you think you look for first? What might you notice first? What kind of thing?
I would be looking. So we have a sense that there are multiple of these creatures around, right?
Yeah.
So I think I would try to take a kind of larger view and sense, where are they coming from? Where are they congregated? What's the sort of arrangement, the energy, like what's their momentum? Where are they trying to go? Get a sense of the movement of the herd.
I forget if we've discussed in session OrLeon's ability to take the form of a beast.
We haven't yet. I haven't taken beast form yet, and I don't think we've talked about it.
Has OrLeon done that in his life? Do you think he knows that he can do that, or is that something only you and I know that he has the potential for? What is his relationship to beasts?
He is in communication with them. He's used nature's tongue. He's communicated with beasts and with plants in various ways. I think, not super explicitly, but I think he is clearly in communion with them and has a feeling for their interiority that other people around him don't. But I think most of his kind of training and education outside of his family's mercantile existence has been at the conjuries, and I'm not sure the conjuries specialize in druid magic. So I don't know that he has fully taken beast form yet.
If you spend a hope, you could still do something else afterwards, but you could do some sort of check.
Yeah.
To know things about wolf-like creatures. I feel like since you're a city boy, you would need to spend a hope.
Yeah. I think I have to anyway to do beast. Do you mean to actually go into beast form, or just
No, just to intuit what, big forest creatures like this, to intuit
what's going on for them,
their movements and how they move.
Okay, I've got 4 hope. I'll spend 1 to do that.
Great. I assume you'd want to do an instinct roll.
Yes.
Perceive or a sense.
Yeah.
Just tell me which.
Okay. Perceive or sense.
Yeah, or make.
What are the
up a
verbs
different
for
one.
instinct, or I can make up my own?
Those are 2 of the verbs. The ones listed are perceive, sense, and navigate. But I think anyone can make up their own, right? Those are just examples. Am I making that up?
No, but perceive and sense is nice. I think I would go with sense rather than.
That makes sense.
So it's a sense roll to try to understand what the sort of collective. What is the kind of collective will, gesture, directionality of this herd?
Yeah.
So it's 2 d12s, right?
Correct.
Okay. Hope is a 4, fear is an 8. So it's a 12 total, plus I suppose that means 2. I get 2 extra for it, right? So that's 12, so that's 14.
All right, that's with fear, so thank you.
Yes, but also know the tide.
Oh, right.
Which says roll with fear and add a token to spend +1 on an action roll. I don't know if I need that here, though.
I mean, it's something you should track. So I've asked David to reflavor the Seaborn community, dear listeners. I think of it as Wardborn or something similar. So his community feature is that he can sense the ebb and flow of life. And he rolls with fear. He should put a token on, it says this card, just somewhere. Put a token on a place that you know what it is. You can hold a number of tokens up to your level, which right now is 1. Before you make an action roll, so next time, perhaps, you can spend that token to add +1 to the roll. And it's use or lose per session. Sticking to the realm of nature, not caudal shit, you know that though these are not normal wolves, they do recognize each other as pack animals and are moving together. In addition to the real world nature stuff, also because of your own proclivities, origins, etc., and also just the general situation, it's going to be very hard to sneak around these beasts. What you're seeing of their shadow externality, they are of the world that's hidden. You're not going to hide from them, and you want to be very careful about being near more than one of them at a time. They are currently not right next to each other, which means you have gotten here in time. It is very good that you followed Winona immediately. It is possible that there are more coming that you cannot see.
But it feels like they're assembling.
Quite possibly. You don't know for sure because there's the supernatural component that is completely new. You can tell that at least that you can do damage to them, if that's the question. You know, they're not ghosts. You can see the way one of them has a paw on someone, that they're physically present. Is there anything else you'd like to do? You spent a hope, so I gave you that. You know, you can do something else entirely now.
Is there one that I'm in range of? Like what? Like I have just a sense of this pack, or there's one that's over Soren?
You probably meant that you're looking around and taking in the rest of the scene, right? And that I glossed over that.
Yeah.
In range depends on what you're trying to do, because I think you have some ranged abilities. So it depends on what you're trying to do. You do see that Poet Hawthorne is also present and trying to deal with the... Did I say that you see 3? I maybe didn't say how many you saw.
I don't think so.
You see 3 of these strange creatures currently. And you see one of them is menacing Soren, who looks horrified. Well, that's what Ginny is focused on. I don't know if you've clocked that much detail about it. Poet Hawthorne is kind of in a standoff with one. He looks okay, but it's a standoff. You'd have to do more to get more information about how he's doing. Third one is growling at a group of regular Carmelians whom you don't really know, because you haven't had a chance to interact with most of them.
Okay.
And snarling and lunging at them as they run in confusion. Who would you like to be closest to? You have control here.
Yeah, I think I should probably go after the one that's attacking the Carmel.
I've decided the demonym for Coramel is Cormelian.
Cormelian.
They just lied that middle vowel.
Cormelian, yes, got it. Okay. Great. I think I should go after that one. And I think I would like to use a token to unleash chaos on it.
At the beginning of a session, place an number of tokens equal to your spellcast trait on this card.
Yes. Okay. So I do 2 tokens.
You can make a spellcast roll against a target. And it doesn't say hope tokens. This is just a separate kind of token, I think.
Oh.
This is...
Oh, I see. I have 2
Yeah.
unleash chaos tokens. I have 2 spell tokens that are separate tokens. Okay.
This is good that we're going through this together.
Yeah.
You can make a spellcast roll against a target within far range, which that's fine for this. You can certainly get into far range, and spend any number of those 2 tokens to channel raw energy from within yourself and unleash against them. On a success, so against their difficulty, roll a number of d10 equal to the tokens you spent, so 1 or 2 your call, and do that much magic. Okay, so the tokens affect the damage, but first you have to hit, which is your d12 versus the difficulty roll. And you can choose now for Know the Tide. I'm not advising you to that or not. To do that or not, I'm just reminding us both.
Yeah, let's not.
Okay.
Okay, I got 12 and 12, so that's 24.
That's not just 24. That is a critical success, because you got, at any time you get the same number on both dice, that is the best possible result. That is stupendous, well done.
You basically get to do whatever you want.
That is a dire result for that wolf.
Does OrLeon also deal extra damage? Equal to the
Now I have to roll a
maximum
D10,
Is this
right?
an attack
You-
roll?
You clear a stress, you gain a hope, and you automatically hit. If your attack roll is a critical success, it deals extra damage. Start with the full value of your damage dice, then make a damage roll plus modifiers as usual, adding it. Okay, so it's not twice the max damage and it's not twice damage. It's max damage plus a roll.
So you roll and then you add the maximum number of your die to whatever your other result.
Roll 1d10 and add 10 to that.
5.
So you do 15 damage. You unleash chaos on this crowd menacing wolf made of whatever you think it's made of. What happens to it? That you remove the problem. How? What happens?
What happens is that it's almost as if the force which was holding this creature together, the gravitational force between its that made up its matter, released, and it sort of dissolved. It's like the forces of entropy took over and the wolf simply returned to a state of equilibrium, returning to the energy around it.
You unleashed chaos from the prison of the definition that is a physical form. The wolf exhales into, no one here I think would understand atoms, and this isn't a creature made of science, but it dissolves comfortably into the shapes of the universe, as Lemma said. And the people it was menacing are as confused as ever. They don't know certainly that it's gone because they didn't know certainly that it was there. Some of them, you see, bear wounds on their arms. They were bit by something that their minds could not perceive. They stand there, some searching, some shivering, some weeping. You hear diagonal across the square at the door to the tavern, a woman crying out, calling for Winona, other people calling their loved ones' names. And we go back to Ginny as she rushes at one of these dire wolves with her shield. So is this specifically a shield attack?
Yeah, I'm just going to try and ram this thing away from Soren.
And is there any particular ability you're using?
I think it's just going to be a regular run and ram. I don't think I have anything specific that I can use here for an ability. Especially since I'm kind of holding my magic back.
All right, please roll 1d12.
All right, and then I can add +2. This is kind of important to me because it's Soren, and I don't want anything bad to happen to Soren, so I'm going to add my rally die to this.
Great.
Since I'm still a little hobbled. I rolled a 6 on the rally, a 9 on the d12, so that's 15 +2, 17.
That will hit.
And I do 1d4 physical damage, and I'm going to add my prayer dice to this when I'm done rolling it. 1 + 2, so 3. I do 3 damage to it. And I will clear one of my prayer dice.
Do you get a bonus to attacking with just your shield?
No, I was looking at how mine will work, because I don't think I used my axe at all, because I think I'm ramming it, so I don't think I'm using my axe. I'm trying to push it away, and then I would probably come around with the axe if I successfully pushed it away.
Are you saying that you would like to move it?
I would like to.
I don't think that's a mechanical feature you have. If you spend a hope, I will let you move it.
Okay.
Since you're sacrificing damage by not using your axe. Or do you want to use your kick ability? Since you made a successful melee attack?
Yeah, I can try and do that. So I'm a fawn, and on a successful melee attack, you can mark a stress to kick yourself off the target, adding 2d6 to the damage, and pushing either them or yourself out of melee range.
So actually, you don't need to spend the hope. That does it.
I'm definitely going to mark a stress. So I'm marking a stress on myself, and then I will roll 2d6. This is adding to the 3 of the damage that I've already done. So that's adding another 3. 6 damage altogether with the shield bash and the kick.
Great. And that, I'm going to count that as one lump,
Okay.
which is relevant, rather than as 2 separate.
And that pushes it.
Yes, out of melee range, which is sort of 2 ticks of range. I think it's touch, then melee, then close.
Yeah, touch, melee, and then close. So I guess it's pushing it to close, but it's out of
Yes.
standing over Soren.
Certainly not standing over Soren. Yeah. So they would have to move to hit, to claw or bite Soren. And you could get in between them if you want. Great. And that's with one die to
Yeah.
your compatriots too. That was incredible.
Couldn't have done it without the rally die. Thank you, Lemma.
You got a 4 on the rally die?
No, when I rolled, I got a 6 on the rally die.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got max points out of that.
Soren looks up at you, and there's such a strange war happening in his face. You've never seen him fight, but I think you think of him as someone he's supposed to be protecting you.
Mm-hmm.
And he is clearly expecting to protect you right now. And he's starting to sit up and say, Ginny, I don't know. This is not what is happening? This is not what I trained. And he can't get out much more than that.
Get back, Master Soren, I've got this. And I continue to put myself between the wolf and Soren. I'm going to step back into melee range to make sure it can't get at Soren.
Let me make a quick roll. Just Poet Hawthorne.
In my head is almost a Indiana Jones kind of thing. It's like, snakes, why'd it have to be snakes? It's me, it's like wolves. Why does it have to be wolves? Like why do we have to keep coming back to these fucking wolves?
So whoever is looking at Poet Hawthorne sees him hold up his hands, and he's gotten in closer. He's moved in closer into melee range with the remaining direwolf, and a blast of something emerges from it that clearly misses the last direwolf. It leaps at him just as he fires off this shot. They miss each other, essentially. The wolf lands past Poet Hawthorne and eyes Ginny.
Feeling an awful lot like prey. Feels like speciesism, because I'm a fawn.
Nice and juicy. And your evasion is 8? Is that correct?
Yes, my evasion is 8.
I believe meets it, beats it. So an 8 would hit you.
Yes.
But it no longer has, or it can't have pack tactics at this moment, since forced away the one that was over Soren.
Mm-hmm.
You're specifically not near it, so you're clear of pack tactics. So I will roll damage against you. This is the first time I'm wounding one of you.
So we're going to see how good my armor really is.
That is 11 physical damage.
All right. And I am going to mark 1 armor slot on mine. So after that is 7, which means I have to mark 1 hit point.
Out of 6.
Out of 6.
All right.
Instead of marking 2.
Boo. I want to kill you.
Too
I
bad.
hate you.
No, you don't. You love me.
I love the taste of your blood in my jaws. And actually, let's take a moment. The wolf's jaws sink into the armor. There's that gauntlet you raise. Your arm catches it. You'll be okay, but that piece of the armor will need fixing.
Yeah.
And you do feel it does sting, and it does remind you of when you were 10 years old. What did you do then when a wolf was about to kill your cousin, Alexander?
Alexander was near the Blackthorn barn. Alexander likes to be by himself. And it was the ham fasting ceremony. Everyone was in the town square, and he just wanted to be by himself. It was too loud. And Papa sent me looking for him. And I found him near the Blackthorn barn. It's where he likes to hang out. And there was this lone, dark wolf. Must have been separated from its pack ages ago. It was hungry, mean, and it had cornered Alexander up against the barn. And I sprinted away from my friends who had come along with me to look for him. I grabbed the closest thing I could find, which was the lid for an apple barrel, and slammed into the side of the wolf to push it away.
Well, that's not so unusual, is it?
It seems to be a common theme in my life at this point.
Was that it?
No, the wolf fought back, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never fought like this before. I was 10. I had no reason to be in a relatively safe town. The wolf came back around. It knocked me flat on my back, took Alexander down with me. He cracked his head against a rock. And my arm had fallen on an old, rusted wood-cutting axe. The wolf was standing over me, fangs bared, drool and saliva just dripping down. I could feel it on my chest. And there's a tingle that ran up my spine and a warmth. I seized the axe and, harder than any 10-year-old should be able to manage, was able to swing up and around and basically fight up from the ground and crack this wolf in its front haunch and sent it reeling backwards in pain. I was able to get up, roll onto my knees and up. This surge of heat and strength that I couldn't tell you where it came from. Felt like it came out of the ground and up through my hooves. The wolf rushed at me again, brought the barrel lid up. It got its teeth into the lid and tried to rip it out of my hands. And I could hear distantly people screaming and yelling. And I brought the axe back down and, again, with strength that no 10-year-old should be able to muster, buried it in the top of this wolf's skull.
And Alexander?
Took a moment. I had no idea what happened. I dropped everything and realized that he wasn't moving. So I scooped him up. He's only a year younger than me, but he's like a little brother as much as my other little brothers, and pulled him into my lap, and his head was just pouring blood. He had a laceration or a cut on his scalp. And that warmth came back, and there's almost a glow coming out of my hands. And I ran my hands over his forehead to try and get him to wake up. And the glow got brighter and warmer, and the skin started to stitch back together, and Alexander's eyes fluttered open.
Your father came and took Alex then?
I don't know when he got there.
Time's funny that way.
It is. I just sat there and stared at Alex's confused face, and it wasn't until Papa said my name that I realized that someone else was with me. But he didn't call me Ginny. No one ever calls me anything but Ginny. He called me Genevieve. And that's how I knew I was in trouble.
Were you in trouble?
It felt like it. My friends ran off and grabbed, all the adults that they could find for help. And so several of our neighbors were right there with them. And there was lots of whispers behind hands and looks back at me. So yeah, it felt like I was in trouble.
And as you feel the strange wolf's teeth slightly puncture your skin, you remember all of that, just like that, as if you were telling it to someone in an instant. And it's only when you get to the end that you realize why. It's not because of wolf teeth. It's because you realize it was only when your father called you Genevieve that you were afraid. The entire time before that, there was no thought in your head, no pulse in your heart of fear for yourself, of course, but not even fear for Alexander, because that wasn't what the moment was about for you. There was no time for fear. Fear was almost have been selfish. You had a job to do. Today, minutes ago, you did what you needed to do. You gave Glory, the Queen of Bones, the vision she asked for. But when she asked you to enjoy it, to luxuriate in it, you said no. You just didn't. And just now you heard yourself remember not knowing where it came from. I don't know where it came from. That power, that confidence. But there's a word you saw written on a wall today. What word was that?
Will?
Will. Your will confused fear in a mountain. your will without ego, without selfishness, without worry for the future is strong enough to save and to heal. And in the way only Ginny can realize that without getting a big fat head, she has that realization. She gains a hope, a free attack, and her duality die.
Okay. I'm going to attack this wolf.
I thought you fucking might.
Yep. Let's roll my 2d12 for the first time. Please be good. So that is a 18 plus 2 is 20 with fear.
That hits.
Because I am still a little scared of wolves.
20, yes, that hits. Please roll damage.
7.
7.
Actually, I would like to do a lot more damage to this thing. So I'm going to use my other prayer dice, and I'm going to do 9 damage to it instead.
All right. 9 is very good. Loses its grip on you. And this is with, the axe or the shield?
The axe.
The axe, it lodges right in its strange head as a bizarre ichor leaks from it and dissipates. It limps backwards and growls at you, but does not attack. It is in bad shape and does not know what to do. We have 2 hecked up wolves left. What are Lemma and Evelyn up to?
Evelyn is seeing if she can't get Lemma to his feet, knowing there's still more trouble around, but understanding that he just went through something she can't possibly comprehend.
So Lemma's in the dirt, having had, not literally, but like sort of a Malkovich moment where he saw himself from outside himself, and he's very discombobulated, and he's just staring it out.
I have this ability Evelyn is inclined to use, but it takes a few minutes with the environment where we are right now.
No one's threatening you. You've heard yelps and, there's... I'm thinking how far you are.
Okay,
you
well,
know that there's stuff...
It doesn't really matter because Lemma doesn't seem able to do anything right now, and she's not going to leave him regardless. So she kneels down beside him and begins to tell him a story about when she was very small and got lost in the servants' halls of the conjurees where she was raised, and how she truly believed for several minutes that she would never find her way out of it. That the more turns she took, the more deeply lost she became. And the crux of the story is that at the end of it, she turned one final corner and was about to just simply give up and die, and she was back in the kitchens that she had left in the first place, having no idea how she had circumnavigated so many halls and tunnels and secret places to end up right where she started. And I'm going to spend 2 hope to allow Lemma to clear 2 stresses, her mending touch. And you notice that when she speaks not in her rapid fire, not in the staccato. She's completely focused on Lemma and sharing the story as if they are sitting around a campfire with nothing in the world to worry about. We're very relaxed.
As you complete the story, something seems to clear from Lemma's eyes. But what you see is not the sort of calm, disciplined reserve that you're used to seeing. What you see instead is a sort of slightly scary intensity. And Lemma stares straight at you, grips your hand a little too hard, and says, "Though the path twists, we return to the doorstep we left from," and bounds up and sprints off.
Evelyn just runs after.
I am going to actually make a GM move, sort of. I would like to countermand the very end of that, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would like to say you have each done very impressive things. And that took a couple minutes, you said?
Yeah.
Katie?
Yeah.
The dire wolves in the square have been mopped up
By the
in
time
those
we
couple
get there.
minutes. That you don't get there. That by the time you finished, Poet Hawthorne is there and discovers you. That he's come back towards his house to see what's up. Because OrLeon crit and Ginny had such a triumphant I feel like we can say they have it covered.
Mhm.
And you are on the route to Poet Hawthorne's house. And if it's all right with you, I will burn 2 of my fear, which advantages you, to say, as you are about to dash off, Lemma, you are faced with an agitated Poet Hawthorne. Certainly, he's at 6s and 7s.
Rallying a hue and cry.
Yes. What? What are you doing here? There's so much danger everywhere. Were you not in bed? Get inside. Get inside, children. And he ushers you into his cottage. Surprising authority, and I mean, he's an authority figure, but he turns you about with unexpected strength, likely from direwolf-related adrenaline. And you both find yourselves sat at his table with hastily poured cup of tea.
All of the relaxed,
As he paces.
all the relaxed quality that Evelyn had telling the story is vanished. She is now 12 years old and terrified of getting in trouble with the highest ranking person in this town. She's agitated and is trying to think of what on earth they are going to tell him about what they did in that cavern. And
Is it just the 2 of us, or is it Ginny and OrLeon as well?
At the moment, it's just the 2 of you. What happened? I don't. And there's no point telling lies. I saw your friends. I'm sure you saw the strange creatures. Something happened. Are you all right? First of all, both of you.
yes, I'm
Physically.
fine. Yes,
Physically, are you physically all right?
Lemma sort of looks at himself
yeah.
for the first time after.
Lemma?
Is what did the hulking beast leave behind? Like, is there ichor on Lemma's
is there any
hand, or is it this sort of like, did it dissolve?
It didn't wound you, right? You just got in real close when you stabbed it. I would say on your dagger, it was there physically. So on your dagger and your hand and your wrist, what the 2 of you see is the blood, a boar or a deer that you had stabbed. But it is moving restlessly at the edges. Effect of smoke on the water as it can't tell whether or not it's supposed to exist. And as you look at it, Hawthorne is looking at it with a strange look. Perhaps you would like to do a roll about it to try to interpret that look, or perhaps not.
I would love to do a roll on that. And I would like to. Lemma grew up basically being trained to see through people's facades in times of grief. So he has the experienced reader of people.
Oh.
Lemma is going to make an insight roll, I guess, which would be instinct, but with spending a hope to get a +1 on it. Or a +3, rather. 16 with fear.
16 is good. You got fear? Anything particular you're looking for beyond what's up with him?
Whether he sees what I see.
It's clear that he sees something and it's creeping him out. You know, it's hard to say. It's especially given the specificity of what you saw. It would be hard to say if he saw exactly what you saw. He sees something and he feels like it's a problem.
Great. Lemma grabs a tea towel and just starts wiping off his hands.
Lemma would hear in his head Evelyn using telepathy. I'm so sorry, but I don't know what we should tell him.
Lemma just thinks back the truth.
Where's Ginny and OrLeon? She says aloud.
They're taking care of everyone. In the square there were wolves made of sort of fat. Gestures at Lemma's arm in the tea towel. They're all right. Glad you were here. And then he shakes himself. Or am I? What? I can't help but shake the feeling that, I was quite cross with myself for mentioning even the reason that I'd asked Mantua to join us here. That's why I'd said we'd talk about it in the morning, but I can't shake the feeling that you got an early start on the day.
That is not an entirely incorrect assumption.
And he sinks into a chair next to you. I'm such a fool. I'm so awfully sorry.
You're sorry. Oh, no. You do not begin to understand the meaning of sorry. I am so terribly sorry. I wanted to go to bed. I was going to go to bed, but then we went
Lemma
for
places
a
a
walk.
firm hand on Evelyn's shoulder and plunks a cup of tea in front of her.
Oh, thank you. Says and drinks, slurping loud. And thinks to Lemma in her head, you said to tell the truth.
Lemma says, yes, but maybe not all at once.
Got it.
What happened? The only reason I mentioned it, I told myself that it would be innocent. It would only be going to look anyway. Wouldn't hurt to bring it up. As soon as I said it to you, I realized what a dangerous thing that was to say to you. I remember what it was like to be a revising poet, but there was nothing even for me to interact with, really, so I told myself there was no harm. But you have to tell me.
It's rather a lot, I'm afraid.
There was a hole in the hill, kind of shrine or grave. We went in.
Yes.
And we read words, and something awakened.
All right. You could read there were words you could read.
Oh, yes, quite clearly. It was a sort of riddle, and I couldn't quite help myself from solving it. And I fear that may have triggered something quite awful.
I don't know if I can extend Lemma's role on Hawthorne, but does it strike Lemma as odd that Hawthorne didn't see any of this?
I mean, I would say the whole thing is odd. Winona had told you as much. She told you that her understanding was that, like, he heard. I mean, yes, it's odd.
We already knew that, though. I
Yeah,
think we'd already heard that before. And Lemma, just so you know, this telepathy is still open.
Yeah.
Till I cast it on someone.
Right.
It's definitely odd, and you still don't know how much has changed for him, if anything's changed for him like it changed for you. Like, you don't know. It's a good question, but he continues. What was released?
We think it was a third queen, the Queen of Bones. Her name is Glory.
And he freezes for a moment. When you say just when you say the name, as though waiting to see if anything spectacular is going to happen. And nothing does.
I hope not.
All right. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for trusting me.
It just occurs to Evelyn that she has trusted him.
Perhaps don't trust so many more people. At least with that name. I don't know. You said it, and but a third.
And there is, we think, another name.
Yeah.
But we
that makes sense.
still don't know what.
You know, I studied under Primer Mantua as well.
Oh.
I suppose that's not so odd. She's run the Loxon Conjuries quite some time now. I admire her greatly. I remember once she told me that when she was young, our two queens were sometimes called Queens of Hope. That fell off somehow. In the back of my mind, I wondered for a while as to what, or what it meant even. What were we hoping for about? What was the ward protecting us from? It feels a bit
Vulnerable?
scandalous to hope for something.
That gets Lemma's attention.
Does he try to hide it?
I don't think so, no. I think Lemma, as this conversation has been going on, has sort of gone quiet. And, he's still doing his, emotional management puttering thing, and at the same time coming down from the adrenaline, and his hands have started shaking so badly that he can't really hold a cup, so he's kind of gripping the countertop. But he hears that, and it strikes him as odd, because that's kind of what the elegists would say. That there's something wrong in certain situations or for certain people about hope. That it can be something that is, I don't know if this is exactly what Hawthorne is saying, but something that is harmful.
Hawthorne does clock your reaction. That, I'm sorry, young man, that bother you. What do you want me to say?
Lemma just shakes his head.
I'm content with my posting here. I've seen what hope has done to some of my fellows. I'm proud to be chosen for our work. It's complicated. Have you considers Lemma, considers both of you for a moment, have you studied older mythology? And he makes an internal calculation, looking at the two of you. I suppose some call it heretical. That's a very old term as well. It's simply older creation myths, the part I'm talking about, as to where the queens originated. Looks at the two of you, says, have you heard about the Lord of Iron and the Lady of Madness? And Evelyn remembers something. She remembers back at the Vespertine Conjuries, where she grew up. She remembers hearing Lady of Madness. She remembers one of her parents having a hushed argument with someone, and that name, that phrase coming up, and a book slamming, and that book being carried off. And now you remember that was the book Primer Cathania had, the art book. And then, out of nowhere, it begins pouring rain. And that, of course, is where we will end the session.
Thank you for listening to Queen of Daggers, Heart of Fire, a production of Hagdeal Gaming. If you like what we're doing here, come say hi on Blue Sky or TikTok at Hagdeal Gaming. Leave us a review. We'd love to know what you think. And remember, as a wise person once said,
Congratulations, we're all going to die.